Hey everybody, welcome back to another memory keeping video. This time it's for January 26th through February 1st, and I used leftovers from Apple Blossom Prints, this cat mom kit. Unfortunately, Apple Blossom Prints is no longer open, but I did purchase the printable version of this kit art from Pink Planner Shop, so now I can use it pretty much whenever I feel like it. So you'll probably end up seeing this art again sometime this year. I just love this art. It's from Clip Art Kits from Nella, and I believe she had a dog mom one as well. But yeah, I use it like at least once a year since it came out, and sometimes twice a year, and I love it. So yep, I used it this week because this was our 5-year adoptiversary with our first cat, Evie. So if you're new here, or if you've been around, you know the story with Evie. If you're new here, just to give you a quick recap. So 5 years ago was January 2021, right in the middle of what I would argue was the worst part of the pandemic, because I was living in Southern California near LA, and it was a very deadly part of the pandemic, if I'm being quite frank, and there were no vaccines widely available. And I was teaching, of course, and I would have students drop out because they had had multiple family members pass away, and they had to work to replace the income of those family members. So that was all very real, very dark part of time. And then also, certain things happened with the presidential changeover that were very violent and horrible. So it was just not a great time. And I had wanted a cat for a while. This is turning into a very long story. Sorry. But I had wanted a cat for quite a while, probably since I graduated college in 2014, and I couldn't have one in all of the rentals that I had been in up until this point, and we finally moved into a place where they would let us have pets. So I found my cat on Instagram because, again, it was the pandemic, so I had a virtual speed date with my cat. So we went with Best Friends Animal Society. I had been following them, and they posted this gorgeous little cat who was a former mama cat. She had given birth like 4 months prior, and all her kittens had homes, so now it was time for her to have a home. And I saw her picture on Instagram when I was watching the inauguration of Joe Biden. And I sent it to my husband, and he popped into the room and was like, should we apply for her? And we did. And then like a couple days later, we had a phone call and then a video chat with the foster parent and quote unquote met her. And then we went up and picked her up social distance style. We stayed outside with our masks on, and an employee of the animal rescue went and bagged her up for us. And then we brought her home, and she's been happy with us ever since. She was supposedly not a lap cat, supposedly a really shy cat, and she is, but at the same time, literally the next day, she was on my lap. So yeah, definitely a lap cat, but like you have to give her space. Like our experience with her was like, okay, we're just gonna leave you alone, let you do your thing. And then she was like, oh, I can vibe with that. So yep, that's Evie's short but long story. She's been with us through a lot of good times and bad over the last 5 years, and I cannot believe we have had her for 5 years already. And at the same time, I can't believe it's only been 5 years, because I feel like she's just been part of our hearts for forever. So she's a sweetie pie, and very cuddly. Like, she just comes and sits on my chest and relieves all my anxiety. And she's also a total brat, because she's a total diva and the world revolves around her. So yeah, she's got pretty privilege. I've talked to her about that. She's a gorgeous, gorgeous cat. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen her. She's an illustration of her is my icon here and on Instagram. My husband drew that. She's very, very pretty, and she takes advantage of that. So yeah, that's what we were celebrating this week. So as far as other plans this week, a lot of work and stuff like that. I had a habit tracker in the sidebar for flossing. I had a weekly checklist for dinners. And then I used these 2 leftover pattern boxes that I had from the kit that I used the week before, and I filled those in from the remaining deco from the kit to basically like make my own full boxes. So I thought that turned out well. And then the half box in the sidebar is just going to be marking that I was so tired all week. Like, my energy was just totally drained this week. And there were some reasons for that, but also it was slightly scary. It felt like there wasn't a reason for that. Sorry, it's been raining this morning, and now the sun is like coming through my window and just like blinding me. So I'm a little disoriented now, but I welcome the sunshine, that's for sure. Didn't have a lot of that this week. Not gonna lie. It was more foggy this week, and now we're heading into like rainy season, which I will take rain over fog because fog, like the visibility is just so bad. And at least rain, so what the hell am I talking about? Fog, sorry. Apparently fog has some sort of like ecological necessity situation. I don't know what I'm saying. Like especially for agriculture in Central California. Apparently it like makes it possible to grow certain things here, but then it also like keeps pollution down. So there's good and bad aspects to it. But obviously, in California, we're always talking about how we need rain. So I like going into rainy season, and I feel better driving in the rain than I do driving in the fog, but that's just me. It's also very windy today, so if you hear anything knocking about, that is it. But to mark I was tired all week, I used a corky from Corks and Corgs Co. And then we'll just go ahead and get into the weekly plans. I feel like I just rambled so long there, so hopefully it'll make sense when I watch this back later. But yeah, first thing I marked on Monday was therapy, so I'm going to mark that with a coffee cup from Wonton in a Million, who may or may not be closed at this point. I'm not sure. I also journaled right after that session just to remember some things that we talked about. So that's from Cinderella Paper. And then I voiced over a plan with me. Did I not have to work this day? I guess not. That's cool. Good for me. Because I'm not getting paid for days that I'm not in class. So yes, yeah, so I voiced over a plan with me. That's from Sweet Eva's Paper. So are the next few stickers for working out. And then Evie got a new toy for her anniversary. So it was the rainbow like catnip toy. I got the banana version for Clover last year for her birthday, and I couldn't give it to her anymore because the cats would just fight over it. So I got Evie her own. So now I can give them both the really overpowered catnip toys and nobody growls at each other. It's great. Solved that problem. I also got a new phone case this day, so I'm just going to mark that with a phone sticker from Corks and Corgs Co. And then My Chemical Romance is on their South America tour right now, so I watched one of their concert video, or somebody's concert video from their show in Peru. And there's like new lore and new props and definitely like a new timeline, and so it's interesting to watch. I don't know if they're going to carry that through the next leg of their North America tour later this year, which we're attending, so we shall see. And then I watched more Great British Bake Off this night. Tuesday was 5 years with Evie, my Evie-versary. So I'm going to mark that with a sticker from Sweet Eva's Paper. My husband worked from home this day because he switched up his work from home days. He had noticed that the car that I drive, which is technically his car, but since we got rid of my old car about a year ago, I've been driving it. He noticed that there was oil leaking out of it, so he was planning to take it in and got an appointment for Thursday. So I took his car on Tuesday and Thursday, which is our newer car, and then he worked from home Tuesday and Thursday instead of the days that he normally does. Yeah, so I marked that, and then I went and taught my classes because it was a class day. I graded assignments from in class, so I have a sticker from Corks and Corgs Co. for that. And then this was a weird week because one of the colleges where I teach completely lost power for like almost a whole week, and it wasn't because of weather or anything because we didn't have any severe weather. I think somebody just like broke something while working on it that they weren't supposed to break. Well, obviously you're never supposed to break something, but somebody messed up. Oops. So we had to move everything online until like the end of this week. So I didn't have to go to that campus until Friday, so I had some time. But that was a bit wild. I'm like, what do you mean none of the campus has power and you don't know when it's going to come back? What? that was kind of wild. Watched more Great British Bake Off. Clover was really, really purry this night and wanted pets, and she is not my cuddly cat, so that was nice. And then, like I mentioned last week when I used the rainy day kit, it did rain this week, only one day, but we got a little bit of rain this night, so that was nice. It just didn't match the theme of this kit, but I absolutely had to use a cat-themed kit this week for Evie's adoptiversary, so I just kind of flipped the themes for the weeks. They're all the same color theme anyway, so it makes sense to me. Wednesday, I set up our online class because we weren't going to be able to meet on campus, which like really I can teach my class without the computer, but the bigger issue was that we wouldn't have heat, and It's not like super cold here, but it was cold enough that like we would need heat. So yeah. Then I was working on a job application because I do have technically 2 or 3 jobs right now, but I'm always applying for full-time openings when they pop up because I'm technically only part-time and I would love to just be at one campus eventually with a pension and everything. That would be cool. And then I did yoga. I filmed my February lineup and monthly, so everything at the top of Wednesday is from Sweet Ava's paper. I did laundry, so I have a laundry machine sticker from Corks and Corks Co. And then we cooked salmon for an eevee celebration this night. So both cats got salmon. So I have this food sticker from Beneva Creations. And then you guessed it, I watched more Great British Bake Off. Thursday, as I shift in my seat, Thursday my husband worked from home again and he took the car in for the appointment. So luckily nothing was actually wrong. What had happened was back in like, I think it was December, I took the car in to Jiffy Lube for an oil change like you do. And I guess they didn't quite put things back where they were supposed to go. So there was like a bunch of oil pooled up in a section. And so the guy cleaned it out. There was nothing wrong with the car. We might just take the cars there for oil changes now. The reason I went to Jiffy Lube this last time is because I used to do that a lot and they did fine. But lately, and this is regardless of which location you go to in my experience, they just got people who don't know what they're doing, like working on these cars for really basic stuff. So they just don't care. And I go there because like, obviously they have coupons that usually bring the price down. And the last time we went to an independent shop, it was like so expensive. So I went back to Jiffy Lube, but now I'm looking at the prices at the place that we just took the car to for this diagnostic. And I'm like, I think we'll just go here for oil changes. I know it's like that I'll pay the full price instead of having a discount. But like if people are going to screw up my car in the course of doing something super basic, I don't think they need to get my business. So yeah, I'm gonna mark the car appointment with a Beneva Creations sticker. I marked that it was foggy and I went and taught my classes and that I lesson planned. So everything from that is gonna be from Sweet Ava's paper. I took vitamins this day because I was just trying to finish off a bottle. I haven't repurchased these vitamins since, but the vitamin bottle, or it's like a pill bottle sticker, is from Bunny Rare Plans. And then I marked after both of us were done with work, I had to drive my husband to the auto body shop. Not auto body, just auto repair shop. And so I marked that with a Molly from Itty Bitty Sticker Co. And then Clover's stomach was upset this day. So I think she ate too much of the salmon and it was too fatty for her sensitive little stomach. So marked that, watched more Great British Bake Off. So those are both going to be from Sweet Ava's paper. And then I started my like annual rewatch of Dairy Girls on Netflix. So I'm going to mark that all 4 days that I did that with a Shamrock from Beneva Creations. If you've never watched Dairy Girls, please do. It's so funny. And it's like short and sweet. So that's fun. Friday, I marked that it's 7 months till the My Chemical Romance concert that we're going to. So I have this emo corgi from Corks and Corks Co. I taught on Zoom this day since the campus didn't have power. So I have a sticker from Sweet Ava's paper for that. And I used another Sweet Ava's paper sticker for both grading as well as for yoga later in the day. I marked taking vitamins again. And then this was the day of like the kind of national boycott, national strike. Obviously, I didn't strike because I was working. Personally, unless I'm asking for something specific from my employer, I don't feel the need to strike because I do feel like my work teaching college writing is like part of the resistance. That's just me. You can buy that or not, but that's how I feel. But I did really I did really appreciate some of the shops that I shop with, like coming out and saying something, and especially Sadie Stickers, who makes the planner that I'm using here, posted a whole thing saying I'm going to delay new releases because what is going on is terrible. I really appreciate her stepping up and saying something. Like, I don't know a whole lot about that company, the owner, etc. I just buy the planner from them, but it made me feel good about supporting that company. And especially, I know that she ships out of Georgia. I don't actually know if she's in Georgia, but I have a lot of respect for people speaking out from states that are more conservative, because like I feel like those of us who are in the coastal elite areas, or the states that always go blue in the presidential elections, like it's easy for us to like be on our high horse, quite frankly. So I have a lot of respect for people who like say things from places where they are more likely to be confronted with disagreement. And there were people disagreeing with her on that post, and saying like, oh, I don't want political stuff. And it's like, well, then don't follow this person. Like, you don't get to tell other people what they're allowed to say on their own social media. That's where you draw a line. So anyway, I appreciate that she said something. Another small business that said something, didn't have to, was Oh Hey Cat Buns. I really appreciate that. She draws lots of cute cat stuff, but then also has been sharing things about what has been going on. So I appreciate that. I'm going to say this once. I do think if you're BIPOC, I do not expect you to be speaking out about this stuff, because there are a lot of, especially Black women right now, posting about, hey, we're tired. Like, we've been telling you this is a problem for a long time and you have not been listening. And so when you start like crying about it now that like white people are being affected, like it's exhausting. So I get that. But I think like white planner shop owners right now, the ones who have been silent, it's been very telling, and I'm quite disappointed. And so yeah, if you see me using products from those shops that have not said anything, it's not entirely that like I support them. I probably won't give them as much free advertising as I have in the past, because it's bad enough that I already gave them money. But I do think some people are afraid to say anything, because I think they know that they have not great people who shop with them, and they're worried about pissing those people off. But I would question, why are you afraid of pissing those people off? Or alternatively, maybe these people just don't care that much about what's going on because it doesn't directly affect them, which also really sucks. So yeah, I think, to reiterate, I think if you are a white privileged woman, you probably should be speaking up a little bit more than you are right now. And if you don't know how, you should probably spend some time figuring out how to do it. And if you're not white, then I support you speaking out. But also, if you're like, I'm going to take a step back because this is exhausting, I also support that as well. So anyway, I hope that made sense. But yeah, I am really going to amplify the voices of people who are either affected by what is going on in this country, or are standing up and doing the right thing. So yeah. Anyway, I am afraid I didn't say that correctly, but we're going to go ahead and move on. Sorry about that. And I'll also add that for anyone outside of the US, obviously, I appreciate your support and speaking out about terrible things happening in this country. However, I do not expect it. I don't have the same expectations of non-American shops and people than I do of my fellow Americans. So appreciate the support, but at the same time, I'm not holding y'all to the same standards, because honestly, this is our mess to clean up and to do something about, because we have a lot of power and we don't utilize it properly. So it's our responsibility to fix this. Saturday, it was foggy again. I did some Instagram posts, finally put away Christmas because it needed to go. Got a cappuccino and a croissant from the bakery, so that coffee is from Corks and Corks Co. I did another full-time job application, and then our old sheets were like falling apart, so I got some new ones out that we'd had in storage for a while and finally put those on the bed. I was listening to Mike Birbiglia's podcast, Working It Out. I started a book nook that I got as a Christmas gift like a year or two ago. And then we went out to our local Puerto Rican restaurant. So it's called Lola's Lounge. We had not been there before, but we have, since visiting Puerto Rico, discovered that we really like Puerto Rican food. So we went and tried it, and it was a really nice time. And then we broke out this board game that I got for Christmas that is about The Sims, and it is surprisingly a well thought out game. Like, it totally could have just capitalized on the brand name of The Sims and been done with it and been a bad game, but we actually really enjoyed it. So we'll be playing more of that because it's one of the few two-player games that we have. and then watched more Dairy Girls. Sunday was a lazy day, and then I just spent a lot of it like editing videos and getting those scheduled for the next week. My husband and I had a budget chat, and then I watched more Dairy Girls, and my husband made ramen. That's from the sticker party, that sticker, because he had pork bones in the freezer that somebody gave him at work. So that is what this week looks like, all complete. Thank you for listening, especially to my rant. I really like how this turned out to commemorate Eevee's adoptiversary. She means a lot to me, and I'm glad that we have her in our lives. So, like I said, you'll probably see me use this art at least once a year, especially now that I have the printable version of it, because it's just so darling. So, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good week. Bye.